Okay, so here we are on the last lap of this SuperSport TT. This lap time is obviously with the pit stop from the prior lap. So I do make mistakes throughout this lap. So rather than you'll be able to see when I make mistakes, so I'll tell you what I should have been doing rather than what I did. So on approach here to Court Bridge, I am taking it very cautiously because I was crashing quite a lot. I mean, laps 1, 2 and 3 had a lot of crashes, so there's a lot of time to be made up in the TT itself. And equally I'm super cautious here, but it's not too bad, it gives me a good exit. And then you just straight up through the gearbox to Union Mills. And at Union Mills, no braking, just back 2 gears initially. Quick burst of speed back to third for a nice line through Union Mills, full throttle all up this place, all up from there and up the Balhutchin. Obviously a split's a little bit slower than it should be because I was being cautious, but I don't mind that. And heading towards Ballygarry, you want to turn in earlier probably than you think you should, and then you want to be upright for this jump, otherwise you will fall off. And then this little section through Glentramman and up Crosby is pretty simple. Now at the top of Crosby I like to get a nice jump from it, so to do that all I do is just give a very quick tap in the back brake there, and it just makes the bike jump rather than wheelie or whatever else. Now I get this a little wrong. I should be chained back to 5th and then giving it back gas and then back to 3rd. I used to go back to 4th, but I found that going back to 3rd gives me a more consistently a better exit. So up to 5th you want to slow down here, there's a jump here and then right back on the gas. So you don't want to be jumping that little jump. Greeber Bridge, I'm super cautious. I should have been doing that in 4th, but yeah, some time may be made up there. And this is basically flat out now up to Ballycrane. And when you get to Ballycrane, you're looking for the green sign on your left for braking, and down to 2nd gear and then get on the gas as soon as possible up to 4th. Take Ballyspur flat out. I lifted off there for some reason, I don't know why. Up to 6th gear for down here, and then back a gear to 5th, and then get on the power as quickly as possible. That was a bit slow. And then come in at Doran's Bend, and you're preparing for Laurel Bank, so down to 2nd, and then quick up to 3rd, down to 2nd, brake a little bit, and then fire yourself out of there up to 5th gear. Again I go wrong here, so back 2 gears, you should be half throttle in 3rd gear all the way through and hitting 4th there. So I lost a good deal of time there as well. And back 2 gears for Glen Helen. Quick squirting back to 2nd gear for this part, and then up to 4th gear and then back to 2nd. I clip the barrier here but it doesn't affect me too much. And then you want to carry as much speed as possible. You're just predicting these corners coming up, you're turning before you actually see them, just to carry as much speed as you can up on the Crunkabody straight, where you can get a bit of a breather. On the approach to Molyneux can be taken flat out. The bike will just float and bounce around, especially in this ladder jump, and then flat through this corner. This corner don't brake, just down 2 gears and then get right back on the gas as soon as possible, otherwise you'll drift wide. And for Hanleys, which when I'm approaching, I drop back to 3rd. A little dab of braking in, that gives me a nice fire out, full throttle all this section just watch my Guinnesses, make sure you head for that hedge and get as close to it as you can so you don't hit the curb. And top of Bigaro, I drop back a gear and back in power now. Flat down here through for the bottom of Bigaro, just let off the gas a little bit, because if you stay on it tends to crash. And now back 2 gears for this westward section. This is notoriously bad for me, I really need to learn it better. You should be up into 5th by now, but I'm still a bit scared of it. I've not been using an upgraded bike for too long. So back down 2 gears for Douglas Road corner, heading into Kerrowmoar, and then flat out through Kerrowmoar, just being sure that you're straight for this jump here just after that curb. Now I lose a lot of time because I realise I should be flat out here, but I realised I was drifting wide, and then that's just completely messed me up. So you should be coming over there on 5th, but doing it tighter. I also see that I'm approaching an AI and just hoping he's not in the way. Coming off of the second jump there, I should have been in 6th gear, but I lost far too much speed. Flat through this corner and this one, and again the next one. But as you approach Alpine there's a jump, so I'd get back to 5th. Soon as I'm over it, back on the power fully again. Now between these next 2 road signs, there's a bump just here, which you need to be aware of. That's strangely caught me out a few times. And then back to 2nd for Bluff Bridge, and then full on the power all the way basically from here to Quarry Bends. But you want to prepare yourself for Cullen, sort of Ballycry, get around here and get positioned so you can straighten the bike for a Ballycry jump. It's always a nice jump. And then the first part of Quarry Bends back to 5th, and just take it cautious, or take it relatively easy for the first part, and then you want to get back on the gas now and all the way up, just flat out from there all the way up to Sulby Bridge, where again now you can have another little breather. Now my breaking point for Sulby Bridge is the house with the Manx flag, which you see in plenty of time. I'm catching another AI as well, which turns out to be awkward. So Sulby Bridge, I either short shift to 2nd, or I just do here half throttle so the bike doesn't wheelie, and then up into 4th quickly, straighten up for a jump there, and then back to 3rd for Glentramman. Back on the gas now. I was probably a little bit late. Round these corners, you want to straighten up now for this jump, and then you should be flat out through this whole section. But this AI actually holds me up and prevents me from. There's usually a jump just there, you need to negotiate a bigger one there, but I was going too slow, and now you're looking too slow for Glentramman. And firing the gas now, I was too late again. And from here it's flat out. After this little right, you've got just flat out straight lining this part in 6th. A lot of people go through here in 6th, but I find it better to switch back to 5th because it gives me a much better and easier full gas entry into Milltown here. Now I'm catching another AI. This is the last AI I catch, but he crashes and wouldn't have affected me, but it still put me off, and I was going too slow through Schoolhouse here. And then we're looking to brake at this crossroads, right down through the box, and then right back on the gas as much as you can. And again at this section I was overly cautious. You should be 3rd gear here and up to 4th, and then back to 3rd, but I actually go back to 2nd, which you don't want to be doing. And for Stella Maris, even you want to stay in 4th, but I back out of it. So all these little bits of time add up over a whole lengthy lap like this. And after Ramsey hairpin, you want to be flat out in the gas up to the first part of waterworks. I backed off there for no reason. Back to second gear, a quick squirt in second gear, and then back to first gear for the second part of waterworks, and then up to third and briefly back to second because it gives you a better exit speed out of Corrie Bends, or Tower Bend, sorry. And then you want to be braking here back down to third. I messed this up and had to change up, which sent me wide a bit of the gooseneck, but these things happen. And you basically, kind of like in real life, you're looking to carry as much speed as you can all the way up here. Quick shift to 6 before Joey's, but you want to get the apex correct. So 5th gear, that bump shouldn't be a problem. Up to 6 and then back to 5th gear for these few joint 3 corners leading up to Guthrie's. Back to 2nd, making sure you get the early apex so you can fire yourself out. Now I'm get this wrong and I have to slow down a lot. I didn't lean enough, so I lost a lot of speed. I should have been a lot quicker onto the mountain mile. You can take that on the SuperSport bike flat out, and again you get a little time to have a rest. But always be thinking forward to what's coming up. You're going to have a set of 2 white walls coming up, flat out through the first one, and then after the second one, don't brake, just back 2 gears and then get on the gas. Now I was way too late getting on the gas, and then it's flat out through this little complex of corners. This first left's easy, just watch you get the entry right for this one, otherwise you'll drift wide. And then I drop back a gear for this to steady everything off, and then straight back up to 6 for the veranda, counting the corners 1, 2, and then stay tighter for 2, 3 and 4 even, so you don't drift off, and indeed don't turn too tight. Now, I've had a lot of experience with crashes here, so I'm overly cautious. You should be in 5th easily for that corner. And then braking just here at this little box for, which is pretty simple, bungalow section, as you head up now towards Brandywell. Now Brandywell is where I crash, and it's because I turn in far too early, so I'll tell you what you should be doing. Don't brake, just back 2 gears, and don't do this. That last bollard that you can see on the left is actually your apex, so you would be hitting the gas in 4th there and being 6 round about here somewhere. So a lot of time gone there, and it messes me up here as well. I always go back to 5th, but I'm just not on the gas, and even here I miss the apex. I stay on the right hand side because there's a bad bump on the left, but Brandish is still on my mind, and it really completely ruins my 33rd, the 33rd for me. So what you should be doing is briefly back to 5th and then right back on the gas and up to 6 here. As you can see, I'm well down in speed. And then for Keppelgate, back to 3rd gear, simple enough, and then just head for the left hand apex, and it's flat out past Sarah's, past Kate's cottage and down to the Craig. Now the braking point for the Craig is this signpost here. I brake too early, which shows here as I have to pick the brake up. Again, all these parts of time just add up. And I like to stay on the right hand side of the road here and just ride these bumps. You'll see the bike going just here. It seems to take them better. I think you can take Brandish flat out. I'm not too sure. I did back off. And now down here approaching Hilbury, back to 5th. I actually get away with a tap in the barrier. Up to 6th through Kerrowmoar, just briefly, and then back to 5th and ride at half throttle all the way through here. and then braking at this green sign for signpost corner. Now the rest of this lap I'm going to work on, because I'm now the same twice. You should be in fourth really through that, leaned over. But that's pretty much the end of the lap. So hopefully, if you're looking for some help, hopefully that's given you an insight. And equally, I hope you just enjoyed the video, because I certainly enjoyed making it and I'm enjoying this game. So leave a like for the video if you liked the video, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see the future content. And I have posted the leaderboards as they were at the end of making this video, just to show you my times. So I look forward to seeing you the next time.